Ah, has the Facebook thing ended? Oh, bloody hell. Let me just connect this. Damn. I just did that. I'm just streaming live, people. I'm just reconnecting it to Facebook. For some reason, it's showing as not having connected. Un momento. Let me just change the stream key. Oh, goddamn. Alright, so that should have done it. Let me just check that. Save it. Allow it to connect. Let's see. You could do it. You could do it. Connected. Alright, so it's fetching it. And we is live again, people. I'm just going live again. So hopefully that is now streaming live. Alright, mi gente. What is going on? Facebook is messing about. Looks like the Messiah. The Messiah is here. Right, so people. What is going on? Alright, so what do we have to take a look at today? Well, first of all, I've had to put a hot water bottle on my back. Oh, see, that's what happens when you... That's better. Right, so... Right now... People. First of all, bienvenidos to 2020. Alright, the first show of 2020, people. Now, what we're going to be taking a look at tonight, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Few different things. Somebody's saying on Facebook, what's up? People on Facebook, is it all good? Is it all good in the house or what? Are we live? Facebook was playing up for some reason. I'm going to be reviewing the Messiah, Al-Masih, later on today. So you got to check that out, people. You got to check that out. In addition to that, a bunch of stuff going on that's preoccupying the thoughts of many. Things like World War III. So let me just share this to my other page. Un momento. And then, people, we's on our way. So that will also give me an opportunity to check that the Facebook is streaming it fine. Right, it seems to be doing so. Let me share to a page. Did I just almost swear? Good thing I didn't finish that exclamation. People will be like, Mufti kar ka raha hai? Ab kya kare? Janta ka demand hai, janta ka demand. Right, almost done. Right, so, alright, now, guys, so we're on the verge of a new world war. Let me just, so this, people, if I just take this up, I had here somewhere. Oh, right, so, nope, has it gone? right? But there were all these memes, which I did have here somewhere, but there were these memes about 2020 is going to be the year. This is it, people. This is the year. And then all of a sudden, it's like the 2nd of January, there's these kind of overwhelming, outrageous bushfires in Australia. And then the 3rd of January is World War III. That escalated quickly. It's like, so, right. So, where's the live on Facebook? Is it still not live on Facebook? Ya salam. Yeah. Ended again. Right, this one, not nice. I have to close this down and do this again. Makes no sense. Why is it doing this? Why, people? So I'm just connecting this one moment. Let me check. You know what? Let me just copy the whole stream key over just in case. Don't know what Facebook, this one not nice, my friend. Let me just replace the whole streaming server. And then let me just replace the key, people. Un momento. Un momentico. Save that. It's connecting. Un momento. It's connected. So hopefully, let me just. Come on, you could do it. You could do it. You could do it. All right, go live. Okay, now let's see. This is now, I don't know what's going on. If it doesn't, if it still plays up, it's now live on Facebook, people. So, hopefully, I don't know why it was doing that. Somebody saying, all right, you back at the gym? I am back at the gym now. Alhamdulillah, lillahi alhamd. Just trying to regain all that tapping into muscle memory and seeing how that's working. Right, so let me see. Let me just share this again. Right, this one not nice. Right, so let me just check. I've got a secret channel here, people, for some people who can message me. Okay. Ya Mu'adh, you're doing it. It's working fine on Facebook. See? That's the coding system, people. Ha ha! Ha ha! You think we haven't got an intricate coding system here? Right, let's get started, man. What is going on? Whoa. Whilst people are tuning in, right, let's begin with some. It's always nice to begin with some poetry. Don't you think so, people? Right. So no. Can you hear that? That, people, for those of you that don't know, is Tahzib Hafi. Okay, he's an epic contemporary, young Urdu poet, amazing, absolutely love him. Ah, yes, Zozo, what on earth are you doing awake? Can't you hear? Why are you whispering? अच्छा चलो सलाम कहना है, सलाम कहना, बोलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
अच्छा आप जाओ, जल्दी से सो जाओ, जाओ 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 जाओ, भागो 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 भागो।
I want my doo-doo.
अच्छा अच्छा जाओ जाओ जाओ, भागो भागो, ओके जाओ वहाँ पे, ओके ठीक है, भागो 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 भागो
You
भागो।
are so mad.
ये दरवाजा बंद करो, दरवाजा अपने पीछे यहाँ पे।
Mad boy.
Okay. See what I have to deal with, people. Do I need psychiatric assistance at this age? This one, I'm in advance, I can warn you, is unfortunately going to be probably a serial killer. Actually, दरवाजा बंद करो,
Dada. So, you know what? Because later she's not safe, and I'm watching dogs from the weird guy.
Oh, अच्छा ठीक है मेरी जान, जाओ जाओ जाओ, अभी 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 जाओ 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 जाओ, ठीक है, ये दरवाजा बंद कर दो। See, now I'm at a stage now where I have to hear the politics. So she'll tell me politics like, oh, such and such, my friend, is doing this, and she's no longer my friend, and this person's not. I don't know how to cope. I don't know how to process this stuff. Anyway, let's move on to some other questions, people. So, what is going on? I'll share a little poem a little later on, people. Ghalib, the Don, people, the Don. But first of all, let's take a look at this World War III. Allah, Allah, Allah. First, I don't believe it's World War III. Okay, so we can relax. Shant ho jaye. Shant. It's not World War III. However, I don't think that it's obviously a very sad, disappointing start to a new decade where Trump decides to do the very thing which he had said, that Obama was doing. So if you remember that. Now, right, so, so this, he's killed the head of the chief kind of commander of the Quds military intelligence force, which is, so in Iran, they've got like their revolutionary guards, and they've got loads of different departments, if you like. I mean, you can say departments, but they're actually entirely different kind of categories. So amongst them is like a military intelligence. So their equivalent of, let's say, the CIA or ISI or different, their equivalent. So that's meant to be the Quds forces. And head of that was Qasem Solimani. Now, he's been assassinated by a drone strike. I think I'm personally am against all kinds of these extrajudicial killings and that America or any country conducts. I completely condemn that. So, I mean, I'm with everybody on that condemnation. That said, I don't, some people have felt this guy was maybe like a super saint. I don't personally think he was. I don't think he was. I mean, just the nature of anybody in charge of an intelligentsia. I don't think people understand what intelligentsias do. If they did, they'd realize, cha cha cha, this one not nice. These are quite, you're very kind of horrific kind of people. I think they have to be to lead an intelligentsia because it involves things like torturing people, it'll involve spying on people, killing people, it'll involve all this kind of stuff. And Qasem Soleimani, although I'm not a specialist on him by any standard, but from what I've heard, was no different. You know, I mean, a lot of the kind of attacks on several people within Iraq, within Syria, within these kind of things, were, I believe, he had some role to play in things like this. That said, so I don't believe he was like, you know, Saint Qasim Soleimani. I don't believe he was like awliya min awliya al-waqt. Maybe there's by the way, I don't think this is a Sunni Shia difference here, but maybe some people may disagree. But that said, I don't feel that justifies an assassination like this. Okay, I feel that they should, you know, be due process. So I don't agree, even if he wasn't a good person, even if. I mean, who is good anyway? What does good mean? Obviously, there's a scale, a spectrum. So, but that said, even if he was responsible for all these kind of things, it still doesn't justify this, and that too to kind of potentially trigger a kind of war. If there was a war, if there is a war, let's say, in all honesty, it will just be another Iraq. Iran can't really harm the USA. I mean, I'm just being, in my sense, objective. I don't feel that in this day and age, you see, the USA it's too remote, it's too far removed. All of its wars are kind of like proxy wars. So it will fight in Iran. Now, although Iran is a very difficult terrain to have, because it's kind of guarded with mountains all around, and it's a difficult terrain for land warfare. But they would just kind of bomb into it from the Mediterranean, from Iraq, from different bases. And the Iranians would just fight the American soldiers that are in Iraq, for example. But that said, you're only doing military harm to the USA, whereas the USA would be doing, I mean, catastrophic kind of harm to Iran. It would be doing infrastructural harm, it would be doing civilian harm, it would be doing military harm. I mean, it would be like, seriously, on a removed scale, it would be like a grown man fighting a child. That's how it would be. But even though in the Middle East the American soldiers would die, but on the, you know, on the kind of zoomed out scale, on the greater picture of things, it wouldn't harm America per se, but it would just create another kind of vortex and a kind of vacuum once again within the Middle East that could potentially disrupt the dynamics of the global nations, really, that especially those that surround it or those that trade through it, because Iran does, because of the strait that it has control of, it could kind of start, you know, it could start blocking off certain ships because they go through through that strait. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to turn to that, because I don't think Iran is stupid. I think it knows as well that it's very, unfortunately, in a very handicapped situation. And I think America knows that as well. So that's why it's gone ahead and done this. And Trump, and this is what you get for, you know, the Americans for voting in a bloody megalomaniac, tyrant, despot of a of a ruler. I mean, this is the president of POTUS, and he's just like a child in a man's body. That's what he's doing. Iran, very, very, very bad, and we very, very angry He has like his vocabulary is like that of a 7-year-old or a 6-year-old. But yeah, so that's very unfortunate though. So there's that which has been going on. Somebody said, doesn't Iran have nuclear weapons? It doesn't have nuclear weapons. I think according to reports it would take them about a year to obtain nuclear weapons. But even then, Iran couldn't really do anything with those weapons. You don't understand that their military capacity is ridiculous. America is so, from an, you see, the thing is, from a weapons capacity, they are just way too powerful, and too distant. So, and nobody wants a nuclear warfare, because if you try to release some nuclear, can you imagine the retaliation? It would be ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, may God have mercy on us all. I mean, right, so that's Iran. There was the Australian bushfires, people. I hear there's been some rainstorms, and that's brought some peace. May Allah deliver the animals and the people that are caught up or being affected by those bushfires. Our thoughts and du'as are with them. Right, so what else is going on, people? What else is going on? According to Abu Hanifa, tequila would be allowed since it is not khamar. Tequila! Karaoke. Tequila! Right, what is going on? Right, role of Pakistan. Role of Pakistan. Pakistan is not in a position to have a role. Pakistan's caught up in its own messes. And Pakistan is not an ally of Iran. You must remember that. In fact, they have a lot of tension. If you just remember going back to the whole Pulwama bombing in Kashmir, on one front there was India, and on the other front Iran had kind of escalated tension at the border. If you remember that, and that's only a few months ago. And then Pakistan had to kind of like have some discussions and say, people, calm it, calmate, tranquilo, zara shant rahiye, shant. Right. Mufti, is it true? Shu'aib A'zam asks, is it true it's fard to pray in congregation in the Maliki madhab? Nah, munna. It's not fard to pray in congregation. It is sunnah. It is a sunnah of the Prophet. That said, Imam Malik himself, for the last 25 years of his life, didn't pray in congregation. He didn't attend the masjid. He didn't pray Jummah. He just did his own thing. He was like, this is my thing. Yo, Imam, this is why we're Maliki. We follow Imam. Imam Malik's like, why are these guys following me? He's like trying to get away. We're like, Imam. No, Imam Malik was a legend. He was a legend. Right, so what is going on? Is the Islamic rationalism the same as the Mu'tazilite movement? Mansour Ahmed. Allah, Allah, Allah. Right, so is it the same? Not at all. You know, this Mu'tazilite thing, I've answered this on many occasions. It's very misunderstood by people. You have to understand that this deen of ours is built on reason. People, this deen is built on reason. Okay, you must understand that. This Mu'tazilite thing began as an extremist kind of faction within the Muslim kind of community. So these were a bunch of people who began by saying, if you commit any major sin, you are no longer a Muslim. This is what broke this team, hence this group or faction or sect. Hence they became known as Mu'tazila, the isolationists. Okay? لأنهم اعتزلوا عن الناس. Okay, so they became, i'tizal means to kind of remove yourself. Okay, so i'tazala, i'tazilu, mu'tazilun. Right, the verbal noun, i'tizalun. Those of you that are studying Arabic, right? So, and from it comes the word, those of you that would know, is azl. Azl, which comes in many of the teachings, is when the person he pull out, he pull out. He no want baby, so this one, they call it azl. They actually do. So it comes in the hadith literature about the people that were doing azl at the time. So they asked the Prophet that, what, these people are doing azl, but isn't it destiny? And so they ask in a hadith. So that azl, so the Mu'tazila are not people who they pull out like necessarily. They may be, they may not be, but what they are is they're isolationists, not just withdrawalists. Right, so the Mu'tazila, so they were an extremist faction, people. You've got to understand that. Okay, so now what it is that they later on kind of resorted to reason. Otherwise, initially, the Sunni community, the main body of Muslims, were a people of reason. Okay, so, and what started to happen is the Mu'tazila, who were initially, the first belief is this belief of, their first belief is this belief of al-manzila bayn al-manzilatayn. So if anybody commits a sin, no longer a Muslim. And then later on, they've kind of added these other beliefs. And what they began to do was satirize, mock, ridicule some beliefs or some opinions or some hadith that appeared to them. So in reaction, what some Sunni scholars started to do was they started to cement further those beliefs. What they ought to have done was championed that point. But what they began doing was saying, oh, you're relying on your aql. So what that did is it created this dogmatist kind of camp amongst Sunnis. Now that dogmatism then seems to, like, this is maybe about 400 years after the Prophet, and then it started to spread. And religion is, easily spreads on the back of dogmatism. So dogmatism, it finds fertile ground in religious communities anyway, so it easily spread. So people started to say, oh, don't, these people use their aql, oh, and then everybody started to go, oh, they use their aql. And you think, Abe Saleh, what do you use? Why are they being ridiculed for using their intellect? I mean, never in human history have people ever been ridiculed for using intelligence and intellect. So, and with that, people, and it transpired, at the hands of religion, that even the intellect was demonized. So this is a ridiculous thing. So what it is because some clergy, some clerics, some mullahs, mulvis, they can't answer questions. So what they do is, because they get stuck, so their answer is, oh, you using your aql? Oh, we're not allowed to use aql. You think, cha. Why don't you go back to climbing trees? Because I think Homo sapiens have come a long way with this cognitive revolution. Alright, that's it, man. Right, so people, what's this? People saying, am I a Mufti? Yep, I am. Unfortunately for some of you. Yes, people, yes. So, what else is going on? Somebody said baby lotion. Baby lotion said akal is satanic. You know, that's the greatest trick the devil ever did, is to make you think that you can't rely on reason. So what you do is rely on the reason of somebody else. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You know, when you think about it, that is so stupid and dumb. Which brings me to another discussion I was having with some of the lads. I was wondering that, do you think a stupid person knows that he's stupid? He doesn't. They wouldn't, would they? And it's not even that. They probably think that they're really intelligent. They probably think it's the world that's dumb. People are dumb, dumb. Oh, that was so hilarious thinking about it. But I don't think stupid people actually know that they're stupid. In a way, that's a kind of, I don't know, is that a blessing, or is that like a, I don't know, that's, would you rather know or rather not know? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. So what else is going on, mi gente? Baby lotion, what's your trajectory for the Deobandis, Mufti? Good question. Good question. This one, good question. The Deobandis within the UK and the West, by extension, but I can specifically speak about the UK, they really, unfortunately, are a sinking ship. So it hasn't sunk yet, but it is sinking. Okay, so I think they are a divided people. So there are some amongst them that have begun to realize that this ship is sinking. So we need to do something. We need to get hold of a life raft or a different boat, and we need to jump boats. We need to do something. We need to be evacuated from this ship. And there are others who are maybe in denial, that they think, no, our akabirin, they had so much wisdom that, akabirin means elders, that, you know, we will cling to their every saying. And all that will happen is they will just become dinosaurs within this community. And it's already happening. It's already, we are not at the beginning. We're quite well into the beginning of this. So we can see around us that they've lost, regular Muslims have kind of lost hope. They don't relate to with them. They don't identify with them. They don't see them as people that you could be yourself with. Most of these Deobandi Madaris and Brilvi Madaris in that sense, but there ain't that many Brilvi Madaris, but most of the Deobandi Madaris are failed institutions today, unfortunately. I mean, that's because they don't change, you see. They're so stubborn to adapt. And remember, in adaptation lies our survival, people. That has been the story of mankind. That if you adapt to your environment, you will survive. Now, ये मैं नहीं कह रहा हूं, हमरा इतिहास कह रहा है. This is the human history, you know, of evolution. So, people, why did Allah create angels, Mufti? You see, these things, angels, demons, there's two ways of looking at this, okay? One way is, I'm just... right, I'm just checking. One moment. Right, now, so I'm just checking at the same time because my Facebook doesn't seem to, it seems to come up as though, I don't know if people on Facebook can actually see me, but it seems to show on my end as though it's not working. So, I don't know. Okay, so it's working all fine. But on my end, it's showing that the stream has ended. But that's not a problem, so long as it hasn't. The rest is history, huh? Allah. As the poet says, people, he says, إِذَا نِلْنَا مِنْكَ الْوُدَّ فَالْبَاقِي هَيِّنٌ وَكُلُّ الَّذِي فَوْقَ التُّرَابِ تُرَابٌ. Allah, Allah, Allah. Mutanabbi, he says that if so long as we have your love, that's all that matters. The rest, he says, that which is above dust is dust. Allah, Allah, Allah. Epic, their thought, their thinking. Ah, how it bewilders me. So, people, what are we taking a look at? Right, I was speaking about angels and demons. There's two ways of looking at these people. One way and another way. One way is like this. You're looking at it like this. One way is like... Okay, now serious. Okay, two ways. One way is it's in a very it's in a very literal, textual understanding that angels are these creatures, demons are creatures, they're made out of some substance. Angels are a substance made out of light, demons out of fire, things like this. That's one way, and I think there's nothing wrong with either of these ways, okay, but I'm just telling you that this is one way. The other way to understand this is that this is kind of, this is a depiction to make things kind of palatable, that you can digest them. But really, it's referring to kind of complex forces. And the forces may not be, I mean, they exist as a force, so they do exist, but their existence is not this kind of 3D existence that you're thinking, or maybe it is 3D in its own sense. So things like, so for example, one would ask, do insinuations exist? Insinuations are these kind of ideas that we get, or these kind of suggestions, these at a precognitive level. Do insinuations exist? Of course they exist. But are they a little person that's inside your head that's, you know, no, but where do they exist? Are they simply, do they exist on, you know, are they on the axons? Are they within the neurotransmitters? Are they at the synaptic, you know, are they at the synapse? Where are they? Are they within a particular lobe, the temporal lobe, the occipital lobe, the prefrontal cortex? Are they within, I mean, do they reside within the amygdala? Is it within, where are these things? It doesn't work like that, you understand? So they are real, but it depends. What do we mean by real? So this understanding is that the depiction that is given whenever they are referred to as a kind of like an animated body, that is simply like taqrib al-fahm. In Arabic it's called taqrib al-fahm, like it's something that is to make the idea closer to home for you so you can embrace it. It doesn't actually mean that it's kind of literally like that. So so these two approaches exist when it comes to things like angels, demons, shaitan, for example. That would all be a part of that. That is shaitan a literal person, not a person, but a kind of a demon person, if you like, an individual. Is he an individual that actually sits somewhere on a throne and has these army of demons, or is he a force of negativity that is being referred to as the devil? And we seem to have this destructive force of negativity with us. You know, even when you look at all kinds of different sciences, one can look at psychoanalysis. Okay, the id. Okay, well, where is this id coming from? You know, one can look at other mythologies that don't really believe in a demon in that sense. You can look at Hinduism and Shiva. You know, the mighty, the one who is responsible for destruction. But yet, you see, it's what I'm trying to say is that all traditions seem to acknowledge that there is this force, and they seem to personify this force in different ways. So whether it's atheists, whether it's psychologists, psychoanalysts, Freud, you know, with the id, whether it's other people, whether it's going to be things like the shadow with Jung, whether it's going to be other kind of traditions or other religions that are speaking about it, or whether it's going to be within Islam, this concept of shayateen and iblis and the concept of the nafs and the concept of all of these things. So that's one way of looking at it, that these are simply allegorical or kind of personifications of negative forces that do exist, if undeniably that negativity exists. And the other way of looking at it is, no, this is not just a personification, this is an actual being. Not just in that sense as a force, but as a kind of individual, a person almost. So these two perspectives exist, I feel, and I feel both are, from an Islamic perspective, valid. I don't feel that either are invalid per se. I think, you know, it's each to their own. Okay, so that's my way of looking at these things. Right, but I don't know, maybe people would, and there's hadith to prove this, by the way. Don't kind of, just in case you're up in arms, there's hadith, like the Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith, when somebody, when he suspected that, you know, people were kind of thinking, he said, Inna shaytana yajri min ibn Adam majrat dam. That the shaitan, he is in the veins of human beings. What does that mean? He is in the veins of human beings. So once again, Camp A would feel that, oh, he literally resides within our blood. Like there's little entities of, like, let's say at a microbial level, that there are demons that are actual iblis and shaitan. So that's that camp. The other camp would understand this as that kind of negativity, this force, this, which even today by science we don't fully understand. Where does precognition come from? Where do these ideas that come to us come from? We don't fully understand that, not within psychology today, not yet. God knows what the future has to hold. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. So I don't believe that you have to believe in it that way, but likewise you can. If somebody does, I mean, I personally would probably incline more towards it being a force and it's more a personification of negativity and things like that. And forces that are at play within the universe are described as angelic and things like this. So it's a kind of narratological approach. The other way is a more literal approach, and if people, I know most Muslims do take it literally, not all, but most would take it as an actual, there's a being that does this, and he is a person, and he, like a demon person, but I mean, I think each to their own, each to their own. So, right, now, okay, let's move on to the next question. Somebody asked, can you explain the Quranic Sunnah proofs or evidences to support your concept of trajectory hermeneutics? La, 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 la. You see, trajectory hermeneutics, people, I've got a very detailed video explaining this. So if you do search my name on YouTube and you search, trajectory hermeneutics, so Mufti Abu Layth, trajectory hermeneutics, it'll come up, and I've got a detailed video going into what is trajectory hermeneutics and how is it substantiated. You see, let me sum it up for you quite briefly. Everybody agrees on, right, okay, in fact, let's take a step back. Let's take a step back. Trajectory hermeneutics, simply defined, means that the Sharia continues to change with the day and age. So the rulings change, that it's not, the rulings are based on, they are social outcomes. They are not based on a kind of divine, I mean, the revelation is a divine kind of vehicle, if you like, but the rules per se were not necessarily divine. They were just based on the social customs of the people where the revelation came to. So, for example, drinking alcohol was forbidden, although God didn't always. This is not an absolute. Although I'm not disagreeing with this ruling today. I'm still in sync with that, in case you misunderstand me. But this is not an absolute. Otherwise, Allah would have always disliked drinking alcohol, but He didn't. So one could argue, well, because the Sharia, Allah says, لِكُلٍّ جَعَلْنَا مِنْهُمْ شِرْعَةٌ وَمِنْهَاجًا. We placed a different Sharia for each prophet. So they had their own rules. So it doesn't go to, so the rules per se, in this understanding, could not be something that was divinely sought, as in from pre-eternally, from pre-time. Because if that was the case, then why was humanity up until 1400 years ago not really addressed with these rules? Why wasn't Jesus alayhi salam teaching these rules? Why was he only teaching what was before him and then abrogating that which went before him, and Moses teaching something different, and people before him, Abraham, teaching something different? Why were these, if these rules were the end of it all? Now, so we take a step back and we look at the Sharia. So this is, right, so the Sharia is the set of rules that we have. Now there's a toolbox to make these rules. Okay, this is metaphorically speaking. In case somebody goes, toolbox, what is a toolbox? Oh, you got toolbox for? And you're like, oh, here, my back. People. This is a massage gun, right? So they go, what's got $2 for in the Sharia? This isn't in case you're thinking a different kind of toy, but it's a very powerful massager actually. But anyway, look, so there's a toolbox. Everybody agrees on the toolbox. So everybody agrees that the Sharia was designed for the welfare of humanity, that it looked out for the welfare. We all recognize that the Prophet made exceptions. He changed the rules on several occasions. We all recognize this, that this was within the toolbox. Everybody recognizes this. It does not matter who they are. So the Prophet would change rules. He himself was a legislator. So for example, when the Prophet is asked about Hajj, and he says it's then, and somebody says, Afi kulli amin Ya Rasulullah, is it obligatory upon us in every and each year? And the Prophet says, لو قلت نعم لوجبت. If I'd said yes, it would have become. You see, so he himself is legislating. Now he's taking rules from situations, people around them, customs. So the diya, the blood money in the Sharia was invented in the pagan times. It wasn't something divine. It was already there. The Arabs were already doing this, give 100 camels and so on. Some of the Hajj customs were from pagan traditions. The meeting at Arafah, the way it used to, this was how the other tribes used to meet there because of trade. It wasn't something holy in that sense. They may have considered it holy in the pagan times, but what I'm trying to say is that there were many traditions that existed before. And the Prophet, the trade rules, they were just trade rules how the Arabs had set them. They weren't something like how God was saying, well, okay, introducing a whole new banking system, for example. It wasn't like that. Now, everybody accepts the Prophet was doing things, he was making exceptions, he was doing things as he was going along. Nobody denies this. I mean, when I say nobody, okay, by and large, the majority of Muslims. So this toolbox exists. The Prophet used this and he taught us that this is the toolbox. Where they disagree is, do we inherit the toolbox? This is where they disagree. So the Malikiya, the school of Medina, Imam Malik's madhab, they believe that we inherit the toolbox as well. Not just the kind of mechanism, that we have the toolbox to adjust the mechanism as we're going along. The Hanbalis, most of them agree with the Malikis on this, whereas the Hanafis and the Shafi'is completely disagree. They say that we don't get the toolbox. So we only get the mechanism. The toolbox kind of disappears with the Prophet. So this is the point of disagreement between the scholars. This is where trajectory hermeneutics comes in. Because if you believe that we inherit the toolbox, then you would believe that we continue to amend as the day and age changes. So hence you get... and there's many, like, so for example, Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anh changing rules within the Sharia according to his day and age, saying things like, let's say for example, this concept of indemnity, where you carry liability. So a tradesman in the time of the Prophet didn't bear liability if you gave him a product. Like let's say I'm a tailor, for example, or I'm a mechanic in this day and age, example. Although back then they never had that, but they had tailors, or they had people that would make things like carpenters. And so if you gave them, let's say you went to a carpenter back then in the time of the Prophet and you gave him some wood, or you gave a tailor some cloth and you said to him, I want you to work on this. I'll come back next week and collect it. Now let's say that got damaged. He was not liable. Okay, because according to the Sharia, he had yadu amana. So you entrusted him, and trust therefore cancels liability. Now that's according to the Sharia. But in Sayyidina Ali's time, he said people have become corrupt, so now we will change it and do tadmeen al-sunnah. So these people will now become liable because there's negligence. So he changed the Sharia like that. Uthman radiallahu anh changed the Sharia in several aspects. Umar radiallahu anh changed the Sharia. Mut'a, for example, he said, I will start lashing people for temporary marriages now. Talaq, 3 talaqs. He said now talaq is haram in his time. 3 talaqs. You see, people were changing the Sharia as their day and age came. But after the companions, this huge disagreement happened amongst the scholars that do we inherit this toolbox or no? So the Maliki madhab believe that we do, and hence Imam Malik continues to kind of give a lot of these kind of rulings, and even the Maliki madhab later on is one of the most kind of creative madhabs then. So it had people like Abul Qasem al-Burzuli, who comes like 700 to 800 years after the Prophet, who said that the punishments in his day and age would change. And he was Shaykhul Islam of his time. And after him, a few generations, you have people like Ibn Ardun, who was a Maliki, who said that inheritance, the wife inherits now 50%. It's not that small percent anymore. And this is way before the Europeans. So, he's like from 400 years ago. So he's not influenced by Europe or modernity. So you see that the Malikiya continue this trend. Okay. Some of the Hanabila do as well. So this is, and I'm obviously of the school of Medina. All right. So I'm in line with that. So that's a summary, but I have got a detailed video on it as well. Cool. Right. Do you think sex toys are halal today? Huh? Toba, toba, toba. Toba, toba. Halal. Yani halal to eat. Toba, 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 toba. Toba astaghfar. दुनिया को मुंह दिखाने के लिए लायक नहीं रहे हम. People, what is happening to this? Are they halal when the Qari Sahib brings them in? Huh? Qari Sahib goes, guys, I'm here with my toys. Today we're going to practice Huruf al-Qalqala. Kutubu Jaddin. This is Huruf al-Qalqala, this one. Right, so, right now, all the students are like, uh-oh, Qari Sahib's on that halal fatwa again. Right, people, let's take, what am the Facebook gente saying? Let's take a look, people, take a looks. Take the looks, this one. Let me move this down. Peoples, what is, who asked about toys, you tools? Well, these people asking about the toys, it's, this is what preoccupies our people, it's, ummat sankat mein hai. Desh sankat mein hai. This is the youth, yuva, shabab is in mushkilat, this one. They needed the toys, they need the toys to play, otherwise this one not fun. It's not fun. Shall we take the toys out? And there's one guy sitting there in the audience here going, toys? But, so you play with cars? Well, whilst, huh? Acha? Karwai ke darmiyan? Play with cars. Okay, this one. Oh, such naive, such blessed people amongst us as well, people. But the answer, no, these toys are not haram. Don't be consuming, don't be eating on them. There's a choking hazard. But these things are not haram, people. So enjoy. Karna padta hai, karna padta. Janta ki demand hai, demand. People, if they don't enjoy, then later on they'll be like, yaar, I never got to enjoy anything in this world. And right, so what's going on here? Ahlu Facebook was social jama'ah. All right, people. The Nusra is coming. People, have patience. What is... Right, so... Alright, I'm just tell Qari Sahib he needs to practice the fa, qaf, fa, qaf. The problem with Qari Sahib is he practices that way too much. But, yep, so the truth be told, people, these things, you see, according to the school of Medina, behind closed doors, it's all greenlit. Not greenlit like how, some of the Brilvis put up green lights like that, but greenlit as in it's all permissible. So long, as there is consensual, this one, it's permissible, So people, one of the brothers here is asking, Hassan Ahmed, Mufti, what takes one out of Iman? Allah, the brother has asked this so many times that he's about to be taken out of the YouTube chat. What takes one out of Iman? Look, what I would say is relax, relájate, relájate, cálmate, cálmate, tranquilo, tranquilo, shant ho jaiye. That you don't leave Iman so easily. Okay, faith is your faith, people. Own it. Take it. It's yours. Nobody's going to chuck you out. Relax. Just ask yourself, do I believe in God? I do. Khalas. Baat khatam. There's nothing more to really say. It's the whole thing the conversation has finished. It's as simple as that. Don't worry about other people trying to chuck you out of the fold. As I've said before, this isn't anybody's dad's deen that they can chuck us out just because they want. So, yeah. But speaking about, I did say, let me see if I can. There's Allah. People, Diwan-e-Ghalib. I did say I'll explain 1-2 lines of poetry in each session. Some people have asked. Check this out. Ghalib is quite complex, people. He's quite complex. And you have to sometimes understand. So he says, Zulmat kade mein mere shab-e gham ka josh hai. Zulmat kada. Zulmat is from the Arabic word zulma, darkness. Zulmat kada, like my dark room. He's trying to say this abode of mine which is in ruins. Zulmat kade mein mere shab-e gham ka josh hai. That the night of despair, this is looming over my dark, ruined abode. Allah, Allah, what a depressed guy. Dukhi Atma. This. So, ek shama hai dalil sahar, so khamosh hai. Allah, 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 honestly. He says, all I have is a candle that will guide me to when this night is over. Why is that? Because the candle, as it goes out, you put it out once it's dawn. Once there's dawn break, you blow out the candles. So in a way, the candle burning is telling you, it's a dalil, a guide to sahar, to dawn. Okay. But he says, yet this candle, so khamosh hai. It doesn't speak, it's silent. People, this is, I just thought I just opened it and it was on that page, so I thought I'd explain that one. But there was, since we were speaking about desires, there's an epic poem of Ghalib that Hazaron khwaishein aisi ke har khwaish pe dam nikle. So, I suppose the correct pronunciation would be khaish, because khwaish or khaish is actually a Farsi word and the waw isn't actually pronounced. So, hazaron khwaishein aisi ke har khwaish pe dam nikle. He says, I have 1,000, like so many, by 1,000 he means countless. Hazaron khwaishein aisi. Countless desires. Each one of my desires is worth sacrificing a life over. Allah, Allah. People, done. Bahut nikle mere arman, lekin phir bhi kam nikle. He says that, and so many of these desires I actually fulfilled. And yet, no matter how many I fulfilled, they were always far too less. Allah, Allah, Allah. In this, people, is the wisdom to understand human instincts, desires, and the psyche. That people, no matter what, like in the hadith, although the hadith may not be that sahih, but still its meaning, where the Prophet said, "Law kana libni Adam wadim min dhahab," if the son of Adam had a valley of gold, latamanna an yakuna lahu wadin akhar, all he would want is another valley. It's, if he had one, he just want another one. وَلَنْ يَمْلَأ and وَلَنْ يَمْلَأ عَفَاهُ, and nothing will satiate him إِلَّا التُّرَابِ, except dust. Meaning that once he or she has become dust, that's when his desires or her desires end. Now, in a way, that doesn't necessarily mean it's that these desires have to be bad. They're part of the human experience. They're part of the human journey. But so long as a human has some insight, that's the important thing. Ghalib in that poem goes on to add, he says, taking us back to the story of Adam, he says that, nikalna khuld se Adam ka sunte aaye hain lekin. Khuld is like Jannatul Khuld. The Khuld means eternal, so they call paradise, one of the names of it is Jannatul Khuld, the garden of eternity. Khuld means eternity. So, nikalna khuld se Adam ka sunte aaye hain lekin. Bahut be'abru hokar tere kuche se hum nikle. Kucha is the person's front garden. He's saying that I heard Adam, when he was chucked out of Jannah, that was a day of despair, like embarrassment. He says that may be the case, but boy, he's saying to this woman or this girl that when I was turned back from your front garden, your kucha, that was something else though. So what he's saying is that I accept Adam may have had it tough, but boy did I have it tough. He says, Nikalna khuld se Adam ka sunte aaye hain lekin. Bahut be'abru hokar tere kuche se hum nikle. And then the final line, you see in Urdu poetry, what they do at the end, they always address themselves. So he says, Kahan mein khane ka darwaza ghalib aur kahan wais. He says, where is, the tavern, the pub where people go to drink. He says, Ghalib, where is the door of the pub? The bar. Where is the door to the bar? And where is Wa'ith, the preacher? These are worlds apart. These worlds don't interact. The preacher. Wa'ith, from the Arabic word Wa'ith, kahan mein khane ka darwaza ghalib aur kahan wa'is. पर इतना जानते हैं कल वो जाता था कि हम निकले. Allah, Allah. He says, all I can say is yesterday, as I was leaving the bar, he was coming in. Wah, 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 Ghalib. You gotta love Ghalib, honestly. And speaking on bar, there's John Elia says about one of his poems. He says, where Ghalib says, Kya bura tha marna agar ek bar hota. He says, what's so difficult about dying if it was one time only? Ek bar hota. Ek bar is means once in Urdu. And John Elia says here, bar ka matlab hai bar, like a drinking bar. What Ghalib is saying is that, Kya bura tha marna agar ek bar hota. Why would it be difficult to die if only we had a bar to go to? Right, with that, people, let's resume some of these questions. Right, so, somebody's asking about smoking weed. Yaar, this one, not nice. Let's take a look at some of the Facebook questions. Abdullah Awan says, Ghalib never got a chance to play with toys. He didn't. I don't think he did. I don't think he did. So, what is going on? What is going on? Shout out to my brother Isa Ali. Alright, you're doing it. That was by Claire Jones giving a shout out. Right, so Momo is on. Alright, in the house, people. Right, today, this week, for some reason, the Facebook for me keeps showing up as having ended, so I've got to kind of keep checking. Are drugs haram? Generally, I would say drugs by and large. Not all drugs, but I would say things like heroin, cocaine, crack, that kind of stuff is haram, clearly. Weed, I've got a video on. I don't feel weed is haram per se, like medical marijuana. Not, you see, the drug dealing world is drenched, it's drowned in haram. It is absolutely haram. So that is haram. But weed, cannabis per se, the actual plant, not laced with other kind of things, I don't feel that's haram. And it's like and I think that's I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I feel that there should be personal responsibility with people, and if people want to, it should be available. I feel that I don't know why the UK has has it as a contraband, as an illegal kind of item. I think it should be legalized and regulated. It's like how Joe Rogan says in one of his things. He says that, I can't believe in 2020 that there's these kind of, we would call ministers, they can senators and so on, the congressmen, who believe that a person should be locked up in a cage for smoking a plant at home just because it makes him feel good. In 2020. It's absurd, isn't it? You see, the human desire to exert control on other human beings, it's phenomenal. We lust. This is still part of our lusting, to exert control on every other human being in every aspect of their lives. And the clergy are unfortunately infested with this cancerous element as well. Not all, but many amongst them. So I feel that in places where it is legal, it is regulated, I feel that it's not haram. I don't think it's a good thing. I think people should be sensible and they need to make their own decision. But I don't feel that the Sharia declares it haram per se. That's my understanding. People can disagree with me. And I don't feel entheogens, things like psilocybin in mushrooms, I don't think that's haram. I don't think things like DMT. I think DMT should actually be. I would think it's awesome. I would love to take DMT. I don't feel these things are haram. I think these are more spiritual, kind of sensational tools, really, that would give one an understanding of consciousness that otherwise would be veiled from us in this realm. So I actually, and hence they call them entheogens. You see, entheo from the word God. You see, the people, shamans, and these people don't call DMT or, and ayahuasca is a DMT kind of plant, a brew that they make from tea. So they don't call them just hallucinogens. They will call them entheogens, that which connects you to God. Allah. And I feel that, you see, in many ways what Sufis do is no different. This kind of like dhikr with the hyper asphyxiation and the whole kind of like, the breathing, and they kind of hyperventilate and one can induce a similar, not exactly a DMT, but a similar kind of trance you can induce by your breathing. And there's been a lot of research on this within psychology, within sociology and anthropology. So how is that any different? and according to some of the Jewish experts, they feel that Moses, alayhi salam, at the burning bush, had inhaled DMT. And they feel that was the kind of catalyst and mechanism that then allowed him to speak to God. Amazing. And these things, I think in some ways, why not? You know, like, why not? So, right. So, what did the companions prophet call Islam before the word Islam was used? Wah! Look, people, this concerned people. Whilst you other guys on here are worried about sex toys and drugs and you know, all these kind of things and TV shows, and here we've got a brother Yusuf Hamza, not Hamza Yusuf but Yusuf Hamza. He's asking real concerns that what did they used to call Islam before Islam? Wow, I like it. I like it. You know, this one I like it. So they used to call it. They didn't call it the. So in the time of the Prophet, they never used to really call themselves Muslims, although they would have understood the word Muslim. But they would have referred to themselves as believers. Are you a believer? They would have asked. A mu'min. And they would have called this the kind of, I mean, I don't know exactly, but I'm understanding that they would have probably called it the believing movement, or they would have seen it as to do with Iman. And hence Allah keeps addressing all the time. See, so although the word Muslim does appear in the Quran, and Islam does appear once, at least once in the Quran, but it's not the main thing. The word is Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe, O you who believe, O you who have brought faith and belief. So it was the believers movement that they would have identified as. They wouldn't have identified as, oh, I'm a Muslim, I believe in Islam. They, although that is I mean, that was what they were by our definitions today. But the term Islam became a kind of, it was like when Islam got revamped and it kind of became institutionalized, or the beginning of the institutionalization. It wasn't fully institutionalized, but the beginning of it in the time of Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, which is at least about 70 years after the Prophet. So around that time, it starts to become called, it starts to have this name as a formal name now. We're calling this Islam, and people who adhere to it are called Muslims. So that's really, Abdul Malik ibn Marwan is a key, a pioneer of what he triggers is what the institutionalization of the religion to come. One could say, I'm not associating a judgment on him. I'm not saying he was a bad person for doing that, or he was a good person for doing that. I would say rather it was a matter of inevitability, that this religions always end up becoming institutionalized. Islam was to be no different. Except the Prophet did warn us. He said that, look, you will go with as the Jews and Christians have done before you. You will institutionalize this faith too. So, you know, but just to remember that, you know, that this faith is a faith of fitra, it's a natural faith. Cool, right. Let's take some other questions. We're on my Facebook, gente. All right, let's take some. You know, today the Facebook has been kind of playing up. Sajid Hussein says, I tuned in late. Have you reviewed the Messiah yet? I haven't. Not yet. Allah, Allah. Claire John says, banana skin is burnt by some who say they get a kick from it. Right. Any interesting questions here? Very good. Depending on the translation. Okay, we're here. Mufti. All right. Sid. All right. Sid, our BJJ expert, is in the house. And I have to emphasize the double J's there. Because Sid otherwise ends up getting some extra following that he doesn't really want. And he ends up getting some messages from some people all the way from India and Pakistan saying, "Hello, Sid. You BJJ expert." Oh, nice. So yeah, so people, what is going on? What is going on? Right, shall we move on to the reviewing the Messiah, people? Before we do that, let's just to remind you all that this, I have put up some clips. Those of you that haven't subscribed to all my other social media endeavors, then काहे को इंतजार कर रहे हो? Get on with it, people. Right, so here was a clip I did share just recently, set this out. Who was Uzair in the Quran? Was he Ezra? Oh, Osiris, people, Osiris. So that's definitely worth checking out. Do check it out if you haven't checked that out already. And just to, and do subscribe, click notification. Yaar, what? You know, sharminda karte hain aap. I have to mention these things. And on Facebook, people, there's opportunity, you know, this one, to become supporter, you know, supporter, this one. So I will be having some exclusive things for the supporters. So I am looking to stream some, I've got some pre-recorded Arabic, Quranic Arabic lessons and classes. I will be sharing that kind of stuff. I will be sharing things like Maliki fiqh videos and stuff like that, and they will be streamed live to the, so do join the, become supporter, you know, this one. So do check that out, people. And all right, let me just take a look. Is there anything, first of all?
हमारे पास ऑप्शन था.
No. Let's go back to this, people. So right, the Messiah. I think we should review the Messiah. Allah. People, somebody said, should Super Dragon says, should being gay be illegal? What the hell? Of course it shouldn't be illegal. What the hell is wrong with people? Anyway, right, so look, The Messiah, the TV series, those of you that haven't watched it, I'm going to review it. I'm going to give my thoughts on it. There may be some spoilers, but I don't really think they're spoilers, because to be honest, if you watch the trailer, the trailer already has this kind of information in. Like, you already watch this thinking, well, they already give you the impression that, you know, is he really the Messiah? Is he, you know, surely there's an explanation. So I don't think, really, in my perspective, that anything I discuss would ruin the entertainment value. I don't think so. That's my take on it, but I am going to review it. I'm going to share my thoughts, people. So here goes. So I feel, people, that the Messiah was epic. I absolutely loved it. Honestly, I thought it was amazing. I've seen all of it. I clocked it all. I binge watched it over this weekend. And I thought, you know what? I have to review this. Now, I would give The Messiah something like 9 out of 10. Honestly. There you go, people. 9 out of 10. I think it's amazing. And I'm going to explain why. I'm also going to explain that those people who didn't like it, what I think. So I think if you're watching this from the perspective, and I'll tell you, those of you that haven't watched it, I'm going to give you some guidelines on what to keep at the forefront of your mind whilst watching it. And you'll really enjoy it. Okay, so those people that are watching this because they think it's, I don't know, like a sci-fi, it's not a sci-fi. Okay, this is actually, the series is meant to be based in realism. It's actually meant to be like a real, so it's not like a, you know, like wizards and this and that. It's not meant to be like that. Okay, so it's meant to be almost, it's not a documentary. It's what I feel it's well made, but it's meant to be a drama. Okay, so keep that in mind. So people watching it thinking it's a sci-fi or action are going to hate it. They will probably rate it like 4 out of 10 because there's very little action in it and it's not a sci-fi. Okay, so that goes out the window. Those that are watching it thinking, or maybe there's going to be some kind of very intricate, super complex plot. Even though I love the plot, but the plot is still exactly what the trailer tells you. There's nothing more to the plot. The plot is a man has arisen and people are following him. People claim he's the Messiah. There is very, I mean, that's the plot. I mean, there isn't really much more to say. So if you're thinking, I don't know, something, this is going to have, that's going to, the plot's going to diversify, it's going to become a new plot, and it's not. So in that case, you wouldn't, maybe you might think, well, it was just okay, 5 out of 10, maybe 6 out of 10, that's it. Right, those people watching it, Muslims, that think, you know, there's all this drama that think this is about, right, sorry, I've just, right, those people that are watching it thinking that this is about the Dajjal, al-Masih al-Dajjal. This has got nothing to do with the Dajjal, okay, the Antichrist. Though, I don't, you know, it really disappoints me why Muslims always play the victim card. Our religion being attacked, oh, the Dajjal. It's nothing to do with the Dajjal, people. Nothing. I mean, first of all, I don't believe the Dajjal thing or the second coming of Jesus or the Messiah is true anyway. I believe that's an inherited concept from Christianity, that Muslims have the Messiah concept and from the Jewish traditions, and Jesus from Christianity, and the Antichrist. And I've got a detailed video explaining that. But even if you do believe in there's going to be, Jesus is going to come back and there's going to be a Messiah, and let's say you believe in all of these, this is not to do with, I mean, I suppose very faintly it's obviously to do with the Messiah, but it's nothing to do with the Dajjal, because the Dajjal in Islamic teachings, those who believe in the Dajjal to be a literal person, is that there's going to be this Antichrist who comes and does all this evil stuff, and he's going to claim to be God and people will worship him. And then Jesus will come and destroy him. This has got nothing to do with that, people. Nothing. This guy, so far, in season 1, I don't know unless the writers change direction, but he's actually a good guy. He's not actually somebody who's the Antichrist. Okay, so this, you can calm down. So if you're watching the Messiah to learn Aqidah, so some Muslims who are watching this to touch up on the Islamic Aqidah, then this is an absolute, you know, -2 out of 10. Because this has nothing to do with Islamic Aqidah, okay? So you need to calm yourselves. Tranquilo, tranquilo, okay? This is nothing, just shant ho jaiye. Now, I'm going to explain how to watch this. People, if you watch this with an anthropological perspective, a psychological perspective, and a philosophical perspective, you will love it. I feel that this is an absolute must for all religion analysts. Honestly, to me, the irony is I would actually say this series is a godsend. Being called the Messiah, I feel that it's an absolute godsend for religion analysts or people who've ever considered the philosophy of religion. So, you know, people would ask the question, let me explain what I mean by that about the anthropological and the psychological, philosophical perspective whilst watching this. consider these questions. Many people have asked this. You may have asked this yourself. There's nothing wrong with these questions. That people may have asked, what if a prophet was to appear in the 21st century? How would it be? What if a prophet was to appear in... by the way, he's not claiming to be a prophet, but I'm just saying, these questions, you would have asked these questions. I'm sure any person who's delved into the philosophy of religion would have asked these questions. That how would a prophet engage with modern nation states? How would a prophet... would he be embraced in the 21st century? How would miracles be received in the 21st century, where we have cameras everywhere, where we have people are much more critical, we have the internet, we have social media? How would miracles be received by people? Would they not be caught out? People, if you've ever asked the question that would people with today's mindset, when we say that, look, religion is kind of dead in the 21st century and people are so much more critical, would people believe if a religion arose in this day and age? With these questions in mind, you watch this, and what you do is this is not a sci-fi, remember. It's a drama, so they're not trying to do sci-fi. They're not trying to be sci-fi in it. They're trying to be real. So now, whilst you watch it, what you do is you shift perspective. So there's the you, who's obviously the objective you, and then there's the spectator you. So the spectator you is the one that, like, let's say you're watching Batman, Superman. You're thinking, oh my God, is Batman, Batman's going to come. How is he going to react? Batman. That spectator you is immersed in the movie. Obviously, the objective you knows this is just a movie. They've just enacted this. So you need to kind of transcend into the spectator you, which you quite easily will. So you're spectating, when you're getting into... The spectator you is the one that gets into the movie. That kind of, oh my God, I hope this happens. Oh, don't turn around. Don't, the one that gets involved. That you. Then you kind of shift character or perspective into the recipients within the movie, within the series. How are they, obviously as characters, how would you respond if you were them? Like, And it is absolutely fascinating. Honestly, I think it is priceless. And I'm not just saying this stuff, because here is this person who arises from almost nowhere, yeah? And he's kind of very, he speaks kind of wisely, as I suppose the prophets of old would speak. Almost not in riddles, but enigmatically. Like, he won't answer very direct questions, but he'll kind of answer them wisely. Like he'll say things like, if they say, oh, is this you? Is this person, for example, is this name you? He'll be like, I have been known by that name. He won't be like, yeah, that's my name. He answers very wisely, very kind of, when they'll ask him, why have you brought these people? He'll say, I haven't brought them. They've chosen to follow me. It's very enigmatic. And this guy is so charismatic, the person playing the Al-Masih, the Messiah in this. I totally loved how he played the character. He really, I thought he, suited, and he was a complete fit for that role. And yet at the same time, this character, he comes, he seems to disappear and reappear in places. He seems to kind of save lives. And then he kind of disappears and he reappears on a different side of the globe. And people are like, and the CIA are kind of after him because they're thinking, well, this is all BS. How has he done this? But some of the things you see, the whole series doesn't explain all the miracles, but it explains glimpses of some. Enough to tell you that there must be an explanation. Oh, it's amazing. Like, they're like, well, how did so, like, they will uncover that, oh, so for example, he appears, and I don't think this wrecks the series in any way, because they explain it pretty much as soon as you're into it. Like, he'll appear all of a sudden in America, and then they'll uncover, oh, there was a chartered private flight. And it's like, but they won't uncover the other things. So how does he, like, he seems to know so much about the people interrogating him. I mean, is this information that's given to him by an agency he's working for? Or is he just so sharp and perceptible that he can read people? Like when the lady, the CIA operative, is quizzing him. But then later on, she's like, well, how did he... And he says to her about her personal health, that how she's suffering, but it will come to pass. Now, when she's like, well, how did he know these things? And then, or was it that she had this hospital band on, and he read that? But that was kind of hidden far back. But was it because he was so sharp and so perceptible? But he's so calm at the same time. And then, you know, there's this concept of just being there in life. Like, you just turn up. You know, they say like 98% of life is just turning up. You just be there and things happen. And I think that was that Woody Allen that said that. But anyway, right. So the point is that him just turning up, and then how natural events transpire. Like let's say a flood, or the kind of fish coming out of the sea. Now, is this... They're almost biblical in description, yet they're kind of natural phenomenon, because floods do happen anyway. You know, it's not that floods don't happen. And the fish kind of emerging, being cast out of the sea, this happens. But yet the coinciding of these events, it's amazing. That how would you receive it as a person? So the spectator, you kind of wants him to be real. You're like, God! And then there's the, you know, but they're trying to unearth these things, and you're trying to think, well, what, how does he do this? And how social media then plays a role in spreading, amplifying his message. You know, there's a scene where the girl shares a picture of him, and the moment she shares it, it has 42,000 likes straight away. Like, within a second. And that is the power of social media. And it's like, wow, like, oh my God, like all these questions that, you know, what if somebody tried to take a religion off in this day and age, or how would miracles be? And it's amazing. Honestly, I just love it. From that perspective, like human behavior, like, wouldn't people believe in this? They would, wouldn't they? Like, be honest, they would believe in it. Do I believe that this person would be, you know, not commit, would he be performing these miracles by breaking the laws of nature? I don't think he would. I think that there would be a coinciding of natural, and there would be an explanation, but we don't know what some of these explanations were. Just like with miracles in the Quran, just because we don't know some of the explanations, it doesn't mean there weren't any explanations. So I felt that it was amazing watching that, becoming intrigued, trying to figure out that, right, how is he doing this? Because it's not a sci-fi, you understand? It's not like a Superman flying kind of movie. So it's like, you know, how does he do that? And, you know, how does he walk on water? It's like, what? And then they're discussing, look, but other people have done this. And they're showing in the movie, the CIA are kind of, you know, showing this, and how magicians have done things like this. And is it... I thought it was amazing if you watch it from that perspective of quizzing belief, how belief arises. And I think one of the key things you can extract from this, that I took away from it, is that the understanding that people believe because there is a want to believe. People actually, you know, we have within us a wanting to believe, and it's like a vacuum that it's almost so intrinsic within us that we find ourselves wanting, like desperately wanting to believe. It's amazing. Wow, because you find yourself as the spectator wanting to believe. Even though the objective you know is that, oh, this is just, but you're thinking, oh God, oh, like, what is he gonna do something? How is he gonna respond? Wow, I loved it. I would say, for people who, you see, now somebody says there's a sci-fi part because he brings people back to life, but does he? Or was it simply resuscitation of people who were actually alive? You see, like, this is it. Just because one person describes it, now, just because the boy, the witness says, oh my God, he brought them back to life, they were dead. But were they dead? You see, this is the question. Now, you're just assuming they were dead. This is why I'm saying it's so spectacular. Because it really, you have to view it from all, like, a scientific perspective, from an anthropological perspective, that how would humans and belief constructs, how do they arise? How do religions take off? How do people, is seeing believing? You know, when they ask him, did you walk on water? And he says, what did you see? Oh my God. Oh, it's amazing. And see, when the other guy says to him when they're sitting at a swimming pool, he says, go on, walk across this. Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? It's like, in the ancient, in the stories, in some of these literature books, there's a saying of one of the khulafa, the ancient kind of Abbasid caliphs. Some guy came to him and he says, I'm a prophet. Like, and he says, really, if you're a prophet, what's your miracle? And he says, I'll throw stones into water and they will disappear and evaporate. And he says, go on then. So he throws some stones into this little pond that's there, and they disappear. And the caliph says, hey, hang on a moment. He says, I'll give you some stones, you throw them. And so the man says, he says, but tell me, when Moses threw the stick to Pharaoh, in front of Pharaoh, Pharaoh didn't say, I'll give you a stick, you throw my stick. So the caliph just starts laughing. But the point is that, you see, that there must be an explanation, and this is what he says. He says that, he asks the people, when the guy says, he says, but they say, I saw you walk on water. Did you actually walk on water? And he says that, are you saying what you saw is a lie? Oh my God. I tell you, I loved it, man, because I thought, wow, that is so true. That is so amazing. That what is perception. Like in Spanish, they say, ver para creer. Like that seeing is believing. The same thing. But is it, is the question. That, is it really? Because what about the art of illusion? I loved it. So from me, I saw a lot of people giving it a lot of, Muslims giving it this super negative kind of review, saying, oh my God, I wasted my life. Oh, I wasted my life. I think, well, these guys have got poor taste, and they're either insecure. I saw some Muslim imams writing that, oh, we as Muslims believe in the Mahdi, the Dajjal is, the Dajjal is going to come first, or the Mahdi is going to come first, then the Dajjal is going to come, then Jesus is going to come, and now people watching this might actually think that when the Dajjal comes, that he's the Mahdi. Because they've watched the Messiah. This is the infantilization of Muslims. Like Muslims, some Muslim imams treat Muslims like they're properly retarded and handicapped. Like they've got the intelligence of a 3-year-old. like, oh, now they're gonna think that, oh, everybody is like, oh. I mean, do you not think that people know what a TV series is a TV series? And it's not even a sci-fi, so just relax. And the guy's not even the Antichrist in it. He's not the Antichrist. I mean, unless you mean by the remote thing that every Messiah in Islam is a Dajjal, then from that far angle you're calling him a Dajjal. But otherwise, he's not the Dajjal, the Antichrist per se, you know, the kind of tyrant that will go around spreading his power. He's not that. So I think for religion analysts, for students of psychology, of people who want to study human behavior, who want to study how human societies are formed, how religion is formed, how power and influence takes place in society, people who are interested in the philosophical discussion of science meeting mythology, that how, you know, some things when we don't know the explanations to them and they seem to defy science, how do we come to terms with that? People who find these topics interesting will love this TV series. So if you keep that in mind and you decide to watch it, I'm pretty sure you will love it. But if you're not interested in these things, then maybe it's not for you. But that was my it's definitely, you know, got my vote. Okay, so all right, cool people, let's move on. Right, every Scrouser has taken MS. Who's MS as their Messiah already? Oh, is that Muhammad Saleh or Salah? Sorry, or I don't know. Somebody has asked about the Moses throwing the staff he had, the stick, and it turning into a serpent. I've got a video or a clip already on YouTube explaining that it didn't actually turn into a turn into a snake, but it appeared like that to them. Because the Quran, the verses do mention that as well. And that, you know, فَكَأَنَّهُ, as though it is a snake. And I do feel that there was maybe some element of quicksilver involved and things like this. I explain it in my clip if you watch it. And hence why Moses' hand turns all bright as well, because of making contact with that element, and that made things move. So when Allah says that it consumed, this verse is interpreted in two ways. And classically, that either the literal, that his staff that he threw, the staff, the stick, it consumed their sticks, or what he threw consumed the falsehood. So there's two ways of reading that verse. So I would say فَبَطَلَ مَا يَأْفِكُونَ, that Allah is saying that it consumed their falsehood. Okay, so that's the other way. But I've got a clip, do check it out, it's on YouTube. I've got a lot of things on YouTube anyway, people, so sometimes when you have some questions, do you know, go to my account, Mufti Abu Layth, on YouTube. All right, people, a private URL. Mufti Abu Layth. मैं जो हूँ मुफ्ती अबू लैथ हूँ जनाब, इसका बेहद लिहाज कीजिएगा. I'm just ripping off John Elia, the poet there. But so yeah, so do subscribe, do search. You know, so I've got a lot of these kind of videos on there. People ask all these kind of questions. Let me check as well some Facebook questions, and then there is some. Do check, somebody's trying to give a different interpretation there. That's fine, but do check my. Somebody, let me just check. Right, so, right, people, there's the Masala segment. I'll take a look at some questions as well. The Masala segment, Mufti Masala. So there's two things. One, right, so let me just bring this up. Ah, right. Okay, I see. Problem. This one problem. But it's okay. So I've got here. There was a there was a tweet made by Daniel Haqiqatju. Let me try and see uh, if I can bring it up, people. I may be able to bring it up right here. I thought I had it actually. I did have it, but for some reason it closed. But no hay problema. Let me see. Right, now this is it. Let me just show this. So, for the Masala segment, Daniel Hakikatju, rather, has he's made a post about Mufti Menk. So Daniel says, or in the words of those of you that are familiar with Anil Kapoor, where he says, "Danny boy," when he went to receive his Oscar, "Danny boy." So Danny boy has said, "It annoys me how Mufti Menk deliberately avoids mentioning Allah, instead using Almighty in all his tweets. The last time he tweeted the name Allah was once in 2017. Is there another religion whose celebrity preachers substitute the name of their God for a generic translation? Is there, I ask you?" And look who's asking. Not Daniel, as in the Arabic Daniel, rather Daniel. Danny boy is asking, why must one substitute the name Allah for the name Almighty? Rather. People, so there's un momento, so we can see this is the priority of Danny boy. Can you see how petty and silly some Muslim so-called leaders have become? People like Daniel Haqiqatju. Ayo Haqiqatju. Ayo Danny boy. So here was a tweet by this was actually by Calendar. Let me see if I can, one momento, if I bring this. This account is a hilarious account, actually. Let me bring this down, people. Quickly look at my skills. There you go. All right. This is Calendar. He has some hilarious posts. So he's saying here, you've got all of these, but Mufti Menk saying Almighty and Maulana Daniel, Danny boy, as there he is. Honestly, I find it hilarious. Seriously, this is what is going on, people. This is what is going on. So you have people like Daniel Haqiqatju saying, why is Mufti Menk not saying Allah? He's saying Almighty. And what's more sad is he's actually combed through the entire posts of Mufti Menk to be able to trace back to 2017, the last time he wrote it. That is just sad, man. Honestly, I don't. It's like, you know, Danny boy, can we interest you in some toys? Which we discussed earlier. Something really sad and depressing is going on, yeah. Duki Danny. Ay, Duki. This is Danny Duki Atma is a troubled soul. He's really preoccupied himself with these things. And this is the problem, seriously. Because people like this, I'll be honest with you, they're not actually trained within the Sharia. Mufti Menk is, although I would disagree, I'm sure, on many things with Mufti Menk about his maybe opinions, but at least he doesn't, you know, Mufti Menk doesn't do these kind of things. People like, you know, like Duki Dani, they just, all they do is just get obsessed with either right-wing kind of factions and just promote things like white supremacy at times, and sometimes they're promoting right-wing speech, and sometimes he's promoting things like Trump, what Trump has said, and other times, just because he hates the left and he hates things like LGBTQ kind of communities. So he will go out of his way to be on the opposite end. And I don't know if you remember, a while back, I have a clip on his women praying in wardrobes. So he said it was a sunnah of the Prophet that they were fulfilling, that his wife, in their wardrobe, his wife had a sajada, a musalla. She had a prayer mat in her wardrobe. And they used to pray, not they, but she would pray in her wardrobe, because there's this weak hadith, which is a false hadith, people. It's not even a saying of the Prophet. And he never even just said it's a saying of the Prophet. He said this is a sunnah within Islam, to shove women into wardrobes. Woman, get yourself in that goddamn wardrobe. And it's like, can I ask, when did they have wardrobes in the time of the Prophet? Ah, you're dumb. Dumb leading the dumb. This is what happens. Seriously, man. I feel seriously for these kind of people, because you've got, and the shocking thing is, so many Muslims believe them and they follow them, and this is dogmatism. And this is why I loved that TV series Messiah, because it showed you how herd mentality is, how people follow blindly through dogma when they see something, and what creates belief. So yeah, so I thought I'd mention that. Cool. Right, what else is going on? Duki, this is Duki. Duki is like depressed. A depressed Daniel. Danny boy! Right, so, right, what is going on? It's true though, isn't it? Dum. It's dum leading the dum. Dum dum. It's not even the dumb, it's the dum. Here come the summum bukmun umyun. So, right, what is, and I do, you know, people who are so homophobic, I do actually believe that they're struggling deep down with their own sexuality. I do feel that, and this isn't, I'm not saying this you know, Duki Dani, I'm not saying this at him. I'm just saying that it happens, psychologists, there's so much research on this, that people that are so vociferously, so kind of, they go out over and beyond in expressing homophobic stuff. They usually deep down within, you know, either from different psychologists will explain it differently, either transference, that they are kind of casting their demons out there and chastising them, you know, from a psychoanalytic perspective, or their own shadow, from, you know, like how Jung and other people would explain it, that this is what they're struggling with. And there's been a lot of report and studies where in fact, there was an interesting study where several people who willfully participated, where they had certain electrodes tied to their, the fella down there, Babu Bhai. They go, Babu Bhai. So they had these these kind of like electronic nodes kind of like put on there, these electrodes, and that would pick up on tiny kind of, they would register tiny signals, the way, obviously, even if a person was aroused, any kind of arousal, one is full-on arousal, but one is maybe low-level arousal, but it's not like a full erection or things like this, but maybe there's a subtle increase in blood flow. It's subtle to the penile, to the babubai section, right? So what they found was that many people, so they tried this on many men who participated. It's actually an interesting study, you can read it. And they found that many men that were just normal, like let's say they weren't that homophobic or whatever, they were just normal. Like it didn't really, there was no real, I mean, significant kind of registering or anything. But they found a lot of the priests or a lot of those people who were very homophobic expressively, that they would trigger whenever they were shown homosexual kind of pornography. So what they had, they put these kind of electrodes on, and then they had these receptors, and then they showed them pornographic images, like straight images, regular sexual images, it was all pornographic, but they showed homosexual pornography, and it registered whether there was a reaction or not. So a lot of the normal people that weren't that homophobic, but they were straight, they identified as straight, were just normal, and it didn't really register much of a reaction. But those people who were very vociferously kind of homophobic and always condemning LGBT, always going, they actually the computer read signals. You naughty, you teasing me? This hate. No, I said hate. Yaar, ye bhi summum bukmunum. This one don't listen either. He got mind of his own, you know. So this is they had to be gay to partake in that. No, they didn't actually. They did this experiment on people who just declared themselves to be straight. And I think it's an amazing experiment from from an anthropological perspective and a psychological perspective to see that result. That's really interesting, because it confirmed the hypothesis that a lot of people who are homophobic find themselves at some level excited by homosexuality. This one not nice, this one. Jekyll Hyde, Jekyll Hyde. So, right, so they're condemning their own erections. This is the problem, this is the problem. Right, so people, we have to move beyond that. Some guy goes, plastic Mufti, Abdul Mannan. No, my friend, you having the first name Abdul ending with just ul, which doesn't even exist in Arabic. It's the kind of prefix of the other word. It's just Abdul. What's your name? Servant the. I'm sorry to tell you, but your life has been a lie. Right. So somebody has asked so much about. Is patriotism and nationalism haram? Patriotism and nationalism, I mean, they're not necessarily haram, but it's like many things, it could be, and it doesn't have to be. You see, if it's just about a sense of pride, a sense of identity, then it isn't. If it's just about a sense of belonging and kind of like sportsmanship, then it doesn't have to be. That's fine from that perspective. If it's from a perspective of discriminating against other people, looking down on other people, considering your people to just be the best people for no bloody reason, like one is in sports, like you want them, or you feel a sense of proudness, a sense of pride, it adds to your identity, then I think that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong in that kind of stuff. It's human to be tribal. I mean, we as primates are actually very tribal. Not just human beings, even chimpanzees and all kinds of primates. The whole ape family is very tribal, and human beings are incredibly tribal. So it's not surprising that we're nationalistic. I don't think that's haram. I don't think, even though the hadith is fabricated, hubbul watan min al iman, that the love of your state is from iman. That's a fabricated hadith. It's not a hadith. So I wouldn't Islamize it, but I would say it's not against Islam. It's just humans, just as the Arabs were proud of their tribes, like Bani Tamim, and from whatever kind of different tribes they were from, they felt a sense of pride about it. So there's nothing wrong with that, but it's when you diss other people based on that. So if a person said, like, let's say I'm Pakistani now I might be, oh yeah, I feel a sense of pride, or somebody might be an Arab, or somebody might be Indian, or somebody might be, let's say, Bangladeshi, or different things, and they feel a sense of pride. But then to say, well, look down on these people, say these people are, look at them, they're all second class, or that is haram. Okay, so that is from the Jahiliyyah that the Prophet warned against, and he said that there's certain things that will unfortunately always run in my ummah. And he said, like, at-tafakhur, this kind of discrimination and this kind of boastfulness of your own tribalism. And that's not a good thing in Islam, and that is haram. So, cool, I hope that makes sense. Right, I think we got to start wrapping up. Oh my God, is that the time? You know what, I'll take a few last questions. Let's do a few rapid round questions. Does a convert have to get circumcised? The snip snips the whole the whole head. It's like, I've got some good news, bad news. Well, the circumcision part, the foreskin's gone, but the bad news is with it, so has the head. You see, circumcision is not obligatory within Islam, but it's seen as a very kind of strongly emphasized sunnah of Abraham within this deen. And it has many hygienic kind of plus points as well to it. Things like, and these are studies, the fact that they don't know why. I mean, there's speculation, but people who are circumcised have a 50%, like when they conducted studies, they found that people who were circumcised were by half were less likely to contract sexual diseases, STDs. It doesn't mean that they didn't, but I think this was especially, they were looking at HIV at the time. But this study, you can find it on Google, because a while back, I remember I got into a discussion with a friend of mine from the local gym, Emporium, who's an atheist, and we were discussing circumcision, and we were comparing, and not we weren't, but we were talking about this. And so after that, I actually went away, and this was about 2-3 years back, and I think about 2 years back at least, and I read into a lot of research on circumcision and what do studies say, scientific studies, health studies, and I was actually quite shocked that the amount of, I didn't expect that much kind of positive studies by this is by the NHS will kind of share these studies, other objective kind of scientific journals will share them. It's not religiously kind of, I don't mean the religious people sharing them. And it showed a lot of this kind of stuff because obviously under the, you see, and I was actually, I'm going to sound like a jahil now, but at the time, believe it or not, I didn't realize, obviously, because as Muslims, we're circumcised from infancy, so that's all we've ever known. We've never really known, as boys, of course. And by the way, the female circumcision, I've got video clip on that. No, absolutely not, and it's not from this deen, it was a custom. And I've explained what that is about. It was more than anything a cosmetic element in certain tribes to do with the labia. That's all. It wasn't what this kind of mutation that people have. But yeah, so because we've not known it, Muslim boys, differently, so it was like interesting to learn. Acha, so there's the whole what do they call it? The smegma, or the actual the mucus that is there's actual that underneath the foreskin. It's not just how people would assume things like sweat and whatever, but there's actual mucus that is formed there. So you have these kind of mucus glands underneath that secrete smegma, which in and of itself it would be massively, I mean, if it just kind of accumulates there, you can imagine the unhygienic aspect to that. So all these kind of things, I read it and I was like, whoa, I'm so shocked that, you know, if I wasn't circumcised as a person, I would, after just reading these things, actually go and get circumcised. So yeah, but anyway, so I it's not an obligation in the sense that it's not that a person is sinful in Islam, but it's a really emphasized tradition of the Abrahamic faith. So I would say that I would encourage it as a good thing, but that's my take as a Muslim who's grown up in a Muslim family, being raised this way. So it's something very natural and part of the fitrah for us. Maybe some people see it differently. Cool. Let's take some rapid rounds, people. Right. How did the companions pray before Isra wal Mi'raj? This is an interesting question, and once again, I feel that the Salah did exist before, that the other Arabs, that many aspects of this Salah was already there, but maybe it was modified. Abdul Mannan said Mufti, and he put it in capital letters, Mufti, you look gay. Well, Abdul, if your gaydar is going off, I think the problem, I hate to break it to you, but I think the problem lies with you need to control your babu bhai. You know, this one, not nice. Right, is Riyah showing off shirk? Absolutely not. It's not shirk. Okay, showing off is not shirk. It's a creature, human trait found in other creatures as well. It's not. I mean, it's not. Arrogance is condemned, but people wanting to kind of show off good things is a natural thing. It's not something right. Somebody asked, is pork haram? Yes, pork is haram by the Quran. It's the only dietary thing that is clearly explained as haram in the Quran from a food perspective. Right, so, right, okay, people. Now, let's move on to a final, was there any, Hassan Nisar saying you're the, all right, you're doing it. Right, people, let's take a look at a quick reminder, by the way, of those of you that haven't. It's always good to remind that. Do remember to tune in. I've got one segment before we go. Now, this was, you see, this is what happens, people. This is what becomes part of the, this is the demonic. So here is a person who's possessed by a 100-year-old Hindu Jinn, which is called Raju.
सच कहूंगा तो मुझे कसम जय काली माता की मुझे जय काली माता की शेरा वाली की जो भी बात बताऊंगा हक और सच की बताऊंगा हक और सच की बताऊंगा अच्छा सब इधर अच्छा तू ये बता जिन नहीं है तू मैं जिन अच्छा जिन तू ये बता कितना समय इसके ऊपर आया है अभी बच्चे जाओगे कितने साल हो गए अभी बच्चे जाओगे क्या बोला 20-25 साल हो गए इसके ऊपर कैसे है जादू नहीं है जादू बहुत जादू है मेरी बात तेरी दुश्मनी है कोई नहीं कोई दुश्मनी मैंने बहुत नुकसान किया इसका मैं बहुत नुकसान किया अच्छे से ना बैठा सीधा सीधा कर 25 साल में तूने क्या क्या नुकसान इसका किया है बोल ना 25 साल में तूने क्या क्या नुकसान
बोल ना जिंदा बोल
शुगर हो गया शुगर हो गया
शुगर लगाई है शुगर का
कुत्ते से खराब कर रहा हूँ वो खराब कर रहा हूँ उसको कुत्ते मैं कुत्ते खराब करती हूँ उसके मैंने मैं मार दूंगा मैं इसको मार दूंगा मैं इसको मार दूंगा मार दूंगा
और मेरी बात सुन रहा तुझे अपना भेजा वाला कौन है औरत कौन है
people this is the problem
उसका पूरा खानदान हरामी है वो करते जादू वो जादू कराते कहीं से वो जादू कराते बहुत खराब है
जिन तेरी उम्र कितनी है
100 साल से ज्यादा हूँ मैं 100 साल से ज्यादा हूँ मैं
100 साल
आराम से ताकत समझ बैठ
People, this is the problem. You know, with this whole believing in this kind of demonology, there is no such thing as jinn possession. Okay, jinns do not possess people. If you're still in doubt about these things, I've got a detailed video. I did a joint video with Sheikh Akram Nadwi on jinn possession. It was a whole day seminar. I explained that these things do not exist. Do watch that, check it out, subscribe to my channel, right? But people, this is the problem. You know, this kind of exploitation. That guy, what he really needs is simply, he needs help. He needs psychiatric help. Okay. Now, that's the problem. That he's not going to really get that. Because people are too busy saying, oh, you've got a 100-year-old jinn in you. Whose name is Raju. That clip's on YouTube, by the way. It's actually a lengthy clip, about 20 minutes. So, Raju ban gaya gentleman. Ke Raju ban gaya gentleman. Those of you that remember that from Shah Rukh Khan's early career. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you with that. As always, you've been awesome. You're doing it, people. You're doing it. Do subscribe to all the channels. I'm on Instagram as well, Mufti Abu Layth, Twitter, YouTube. I release videos daily. Do check them out. Any questions, send them to me. Next week, I won't be doing a show. Next week, I'll just put up something that you guys can watch, and I'll resume the week after. So next week, it'll be a miss. But any questions, do reach out to me. Do remember to subscribe. Take very good care of yourselves, people. Mwah! Jeete raho, yaar. Jeete raho. May Allah keep you all smiling and laughing. Take very good care of yourselves. Remember me in your du'as. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.